Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny Laker, and this is
Laurie Woodward,
welcome to our show, Love at First Page.
a dialogue between a writer and a producer about the process.
We're so happy to have you back here on our show. And we prepared a very interesting, intriguing, and controversial topic for this week. We are talking about music, but not just music, all that is related when it comes to stay in your lane as a writer. Because we as writers, we are the creators of the whole thing, right? So we have this entire vision, and sometimes we go overboard when it comes to the world building, what we talked about last week, but also when it comes to all these side effects, or these are not really side effects because they're super important, right? But yeah, let's dive into that. So, Laurie, when you write, do you have a soundtrack playing in the back of your head, or tell us what is the process?
Actually, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, actually, I don't have a soundtrack in my head. But I know that some writers do. And what I try to tell myself, like you were saying, is Lori, stay in your own lane. That I don't know about composing. I don't know about editing. I don't know what certain songs are going to sound like, played over some montages that I might be writing or something like that. So I try not to step outside my role as the writer and, you know, give them my opinion about what sort of music should be included in the screenplay. And actually, I'd read that in books like Save the Cat and others had said the same thing, that actually directors don't want a screenplay that gives too many stage directions. They don't want you to tell them how to set up their camera or what sort of a shot to have or what sort of music should be playing in the background and that sort of thing. Because each director will have their own vision, as will the composer that they bring in, and then the editor will also, have a vision. So filmmaking is such a collaborative effort that I need to be aware of that as the writer and kind of step back. I mean, I could say music like this,
Mhm.
but to give too much of my opinion, I think would be stepping outside of my lane, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes in the process.
Yeah, so stepping on somebody's toes, this is not just when it comes to music, but also the other disciplines that are involved, be it costumes, be it the set design, be it really like the general director's choices. And let's keep editing out for a moment because when you do your homework really well as a crew, as a team, and you pull in the editors really in the beginning and let them be part of the production process already. There is not much of editing to be done compared to when you just include them towards the end, how it was in the past. So we have a lot of changes happening there through technology and through more independent filmmakers that take on different hats. But especially when it comes to writing. See, Save the Cat, yes, is a method, but it's taught at schools. And so at schools, you have always like the picture perfect scenario, how it is. In
Of course, yes,
yeah,
yes.
varies pretty much. And so when you think about the music that you have already in your head for Artenia playing, or is there anything when you were writing as well, not just the screenplay, but the book as such, or the books, the series of books, do you had some kind of music that was guiding you in this process? Maybe were you comparing it to some Harry Potter style or more the Disney musical style? So I'm curious. So what was
Well, probably more of a staccato sort of rhythm, I would imagine. I mean, as I said, this is not my lane, so I'm trying to put on my imagination hat. I would imagine that, the sort of, exciting sort of, rhythm when, the boys first go into Artania and during battle scenes and that sort of thing. And you would probably have, more lyrical sorts of music when, there's times when Alex, first sees Ken's, his eyes get very like, oh boy, she's hot, that sort of thing. Uh, but I really haven't um thought of music that much in the Artania series. Now, I did write a coming of age novel, and there are chapters where I used music to create a metaphorical scene, like a Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. I used that, but I made sure to quote it as this is Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, and so on, so I wouldn't get in any copyright have any copyright issues. But I use that more like because the character's kind of into drugs and that sort of thing. So I used Pink Floyd's kind of surreal sorts of music as a backdrop for that. So I did imagine that when I was writing that novel, because
Mhm.
that novel had a lot of drug references to it and that sort of thing. So yes, sometimes, but usually not for me. As I said, I kind of go in a different direction, and I stay in my own lane. I love to dance. I love music. Yeah, and for me, music is more a creative outlet. So if I could be writing for a while and then kind of, like, oh, then I'm kind of running out of ideas, and then I'm looking for some sort of inspiration, then
Mhm.
I could play some music. Actually, I just had a friend suggest that for me, so that, you could start listening. There's some sci-fi cool tracks. I'm writing a new sci-fi novel,
Yeah.
so I could be listening to some sci-fi surreal tracks, and that could help. It could help with the creative juices as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sometimes it can help with the creative juices. Sometimes it can help the creative juices go overboard because I recently experienced that in one of the working sessions that I had with one of the writers that looking through the screenplay, there was a lack in dialogue, and it was substituted by the music this person envisioned for the character or for playing in the background to have
Mhm.
an additional subliminal message almost to what's going on there in the scene.
Mhm.
And the problem is when you do it like that, of course it works when you watch all these movies. And Guardians of the Galaxy is a good example because you have an action movie, you have a superhero movie, and which
Mhm.
is fed by music, and music plays an important role there, and it's almost like an own character with all the traits and the connections that music brings about between the different characters. But this said, it has to be treated like as well voiceover. Voiceover and music for me go kind of hand in hand because this is one of these things that a writer easily gets sidetracked
Mhm.
writing because as well as voiceover. Oh, I can put this voiceover and it's explaining everything.
Mhm.
What I always suggest is no, take everything out, the voiceover out and the music out, and then focus really on the dialogue and the action descriptions in the screenplay so that it's readable, understandable, that we feel the music that is there. And this ties in, and I want to discuss this phrase with you, which one composer um, told me there's always a soundtrack in each screenplay. It's
Mhm.
always there. No matter if there is already a reference to some music piece, there's always music in the entire screenplay. And it
Mhm.
has its own soundtrack. And you as a writer, you said, okay, I have these ideas, but I want to stay in my lane. So what does it do with you when you hear something like that? What do you focus on as a writer when it comes to that?
Well, to me, that sounds very much like Michelangelo's quote of the figure was always in the stone. I
Mm.
just had to release it.
Hmm.
And I think for a composer, that's true, that the music is always there for them.
Hmm.
But it's not until they see the film or read the screenplay that they're able to release that music.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so and I would agree that there almost is something that you're tapping into when you're writing. It almost is as if you're, unleashing something that you're tapping into in the universe that is like music. Yes, very much so.
Hmm. It is like music, it is like art. When you compare it, it's as well like a brush stroke. You put words on a paper, it's like a brush stroke.
Mhm.
It's like a shot that you take with a camera. It's like the musical, the melody, the rhythm. It's
Mhm.
all included in the words. It's just, as you said, another outlet. And when you as a writer understand this, that it's all an interplay, um, it basically lets you back to this aspect of trust and have the right people on board and
Mhm.
trust that the producer that you choose
Mhm.
is bringing all these pieces together because you as a writer, you step back.
Mhm.
You really depend on, okay, that the producer is doing their job and bringing in the right people that is portraying what you have in mind.
Mhm. Sure.
And this is one of the problems that often occur when you have a writer-director scenario, because this person almost tries to step in all the different seats and leaves little to no space for really like this team, this teamwork to
Mhm.
emerge out of it, right?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it's symbiosis.
Yes, yes. Well, to your earlier point about working with someone that already was writing the score, that was saying, okay, this music is going to go here. Here I have a montage, and we're going to have this song playing, and it's like a voiceover, but that they should instead just focus on the dialogue and the story.
Hmm.
My advice to them would be, yeah, that sounds really exciting, but why don't you just focus on the story first?
Hmm.
And we'll take that out right now and see how it is without all of those different devices. Also, it is extremely expensive to get the rights to many different songs.
Hmm.
And the more famous the artist is, the more expensive it's going to be. So if you're writing a spec script and a producer's looking at it and they're saying, well, you want to use a song by the Beatles, you want to use a song by, Adele, I don't,
Hmm.
that's going to turn them off immediately because then all of a sudden the budget for that film has skyrocketed. And
But this might be special about me because I have this special connection to music ever since I was little. I've been a singer and a musician my entire life and grew up in that space. And so I feel connected when I hear music. But at the same time, this is something that is I know that there are people who understand how this interplay of music and really like bringing this layer to the screenplay once the screenplay is at its perfection. And what you said, focus, 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 focus on the dialogue, focus on the action, because the music and the voiceover and all these little things, they
Mhm,
come later. The special effects. It's like when you include special effects, it's the same thing. It comes later. First, focus that this story makes sense, that you have from a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you have exciting parts in each part of it, and
mhm.
not dependent on any of the additional layers you put to it.
Yeah, I think we talked about that in an earlier podcast that, you know, different types of nonlinear structures are great for Quentin Tarantino, and people like that. But if you're just starting out as a screenwriter, just do your typical three act structure. Try to focus on telling just the best story you can.
Mhm.
Try to really focus on the writing instead. Eh, Maybe once you get yourself established, then you could, branch out into some of these other areas. But my advice to writers just starting out would be just work on the writing. See sit down with your screenplay, read it, see how it sounds in your head.
Mhm.
Or have a couple friends sit around and read it. Do like I don't know, have a little potluck dinner at your house and do some reads. I've done readings with just friends and that's when you really hear those, where it falls flat and where the dialogue's a little stilted and also where it flows. So that, that's I think that's much more valuable for a writer than trying to, come up with a soundtrack. Listen to this soundtrack while you're reading my screenplay. Like that would never occur to me.
Oh,
Well, hats
I have
off to your
no
friend, to
idea.
your client for doing that. I mean, that's very creative of them,
Mhm.
but I don't know that that would sell screenplays, in the long run. I don't know. Well, you're the producer. Would that make you want to buy the screenplay, or would just a good story make you want to buy the screenplay more?
The focus is the connection of the writer to the story. This is what
Mhm.
how I select my people because you can work and the willingness to collaborate. Because
Mhm.
when you have a great idea, when you have like this concept there, and therefore the overall concept is important, that you
Mhm.
have this in place and that you focus on doing your homework and doing everything that somebody else can feel into your words. You
Mhm.
always say like words are poetry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's important to me as a producer that there is a connection between the writer, the topic, and the screenplay, that I feel this connection, that it's really
Mhm.
coming from the heart space, that
Mhm.
what this person is telling and talking about makes sense, not just in a logical sense, but also like sense from an emotional perspective, that there is a match. And of course, when there is already like an idea of where the soundtrack could go, this is an additional, not selling proposition, but this is one of the crafts and talents that the writer might have and bring to the table. But then again, the willingness to collaborate, saying, okay, you have this idea, you have this idea of creating, I don't know, even a musical, or you want to have music as an additional character, more than a layer, more a person, like a guardian angel, the music comes in. But then when I realized, okay, there is no whatsoever way to collaborate with this person because they are so dead set on their soundtrack, then it's not
Mhm.
a selling point. When I see, okay, they have an idea, they have a concept, which is an additional part of the screenplay, which is almost like a new concept as well, and also a selling point because it can be an ancillary product. But then when I say, okay, I have my friend Rio, who is a Grammy-winning music producer. I would like to pull him in. And this person is
Mhm.
like, yeah, I work with my buddy XYZ. I see already that this person has their own fixed soundtrack and way on how the story is supposed to be
Mhm.
shown and
Mhm.
told. And when I see this resistance in the suggestions that I make, that this person refuses even to listen, then it's not a selling point. Then it's actually an obstacle that they put out there before we got to work. Because
Mhm.
it could be, and I can misjudge this situation and this person, but when I have this feeling that there is already like this tendency of not being collaborative, it's not a match for Sinvest. It's not a match for me as a producer.
Sure. Well, like we talked about earlier, that you need to check your ego at the door. I mean, that none of us are complete experts in every aspect of filmmaking. None of us. And you could even talk to the most experienced filmmaker in the world, and there's still things that you can learn. There's still ideas that would be helpful to you to make the work better. And being adverse to that is just going to get in the way.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that that's going to be one problem for this person that you're referring to. Another problem is it sounds like they're diffusing their energies so much.
Mhm.
Yeah, so yeah, that's our focus today. It's like stay in your lane, stay in
Yeah.
your lane. That we can't be everything. That's why when you see the credits for a film, it goes on and on and on because it's a team effort,
Exactly.
and people who are very, very good at creating compositions for film scores, and there are people that are very, very good at planning shots and cinematography, and there are other people that are very, very good at creating special effects. There are other people that are good at creating costumes, so stay in your lane and just try to do that the best you possibly can, and you'll find some success.
Yeah, yeah. And to straighten this out, it's not just one client that I'm talking about. It's multiple. It's really like the accumulation of what I experienced over the past 24 months working with a variety of different screenplays and why certain things did not take off or why investors even said, "Oh no, we don't we are interested in the topic, but somehow we have a feeling this is not the right match for us."
Mhm.
And so I could relate to that because I had this too, that people were pitching to me and I felt like they wanted to take over the entire show. And as you mentioned, there is a list of credits. It's a list of credits. It's not just one person does everything. I mean, you have this that people take over different roles in the production process and step into different seats, but it's like when you run a company, and you are the CEO, you have to start delegating at some point. And with with the situation like you look at as a writer, you have to trust the people you get on board, and then you have to let go. You have to
Mhm.
say, okay, I let me focus on building out this character so that the director, the producer, the composer, the costume designer knows what they do in order to portray it the way that I envision it. And this is then when the magic happens and the symbiosis um, between the different or among the different people comes into existence. So it's
Mhm.
it's something that is just naturally falling into place once you do your work as a writer,
Exactly.
really from the heart space and focusing on perfectionizing that. And
Mhm.
this is almost a sec to the next episode that we have planned for next week, because when is the point of letting go of your screenplay and say, I wrote 45
That's a tough one for me.
54
You know me.
revisions.
I can change. Oh, you're not happy, then I'll change it again. That's me.
Exactly. And this
Oh gosh.
is a topic that
Mhm.
I came across so often. We had almost like the financing in, and then the writer was like, oh no, let me change this. And all of a sudden, the budget that we had created was entirely different because it involved animals, it involved some uh, special effects that were not in place before. It was about a different location. So we had, I don't know how many rewrites, and it was a never-ending story. And so what are the criteria, or when is a good what are the criteria, and when is a good time to really close the script and say,
Mhm.
okay, that's it.
Mhm.
Now we are good to go, and we just leave it like it is, and the rest will come once we have um the production started. We start with the preparation for the pre-production, and we
Mhm.
start with the
I've only
preparation.
done one rewrite since we signed the option agreement. Then I thought, okay. Uh, but if you want me to do another one, I will.
Let's circle back
Yeah.
on that one. What yeah, what is required? What are the criteria next week?
Okay.
Because this as well then includes maybe the musical aspects, includes as well the cinematography or the special effects that we see. And then we are already like layering the entire screenplay to a place where we then can split it among the team and dedicate certain aspects of the screenplay to the different roles in
Hmm.
the among the crew, not just the crew and the cast, but as well among the crew members. And yeah, this said, it was so great to talk to you, Laurie. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
it was. And please don't forget to subscribe and like our episodes. We need you.
Yes, we do. And we appreciate you when you hit this subscribe button and when you follow us on our channels, when you spread the word, when you share it with your friends, with your family, whoever is into writing. And yeah, we look forward for more to come and to talk more. And we would love as well your opinion. So feel free to comment in the link below.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Bye bye.